Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you on this public consultation webinar. Today, we talk about the Austrian forest certification system. My name is Hubert Inghäuser from PFC International, and it's my pleasure to be your host today. These consultation webinars, they have usually three agenda items, so as we have today. First, I will deliver a short introduction about PFC International for those who are not that familiar with our framework. And then, of course, the main item will be a presentation from Gerhard Pichler from PFC Austria, who will walk us through the Austrian forest certification system. And as the end, as always, if there will be need for questions or clarifications, then we will have space for that, of course. So with this in mind, let's start with the PFC International introduction. PFC, the acronym stands for Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification Systems. We are an alliance of independent national forest certification systems under the umbrella of PFC International. We are also very glad that we now have a couple of regional forest certification systems as well. All of these certification systems are based on PFC's sustainability benchmark standard, like the SFM standard, or international standards like the chain of custody. This is a voluntary mechanism promoting sustainable forest management through independent third-party certification. And of course, we are very proud that we are the world's largest forest certification system and provider of 3/4 of the world certified sustainably managed timber. On this map, you can see our global coverage. What is important on this map is that with dark green, those countries are PFC members with endorsed PFC systems. And those with light green, they are also PFC members, but as of today, they don't have an endorsed system yet. I do apologize for the outdated map because right now we already very happy to welcome, for example, Guyana in Latin America as one of the endorsed systems. The blue dots are highlighting the countries where we operate chain of custody. As you can see, the chain of custody, given the nature of an international standard, can be applied also in countries where we do not operate with endorsed forest certification systems for sustainable forest management. And just a couple of words from myself about the Austrian forest certification system. Well, it's very important to note that Austria was one of the founding members of PFC back in 1999. And the recent outcome or the result of the system revision was submitted for assessment in May this year. This PFC assessment will be carried out by an independent assessor yet to be appointed. And as part of this assessment, there will be a 60 days international public consultation, which is available on the pfc.org website. We open this public consultation today, and the stakeholders will have 60 days until 6th of September to take a look at the full system documentation and submit their comments if they have any. It's important that all of the comments submitted to the PFC International during this public consultation will be considered by the assessor in the assessment report. And that was the brief introduction from my side, and I'm very, very glad to have Gerhard here with me, and I will stop sharing my screen and hand over the floor to Gerhard.
Thank you, Hubert. I will start sharing my screen. Can you see my presentation, Hubert?
Looks perfect. You are good to go, Gerhard.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody again. My name is Gerhard Pichler, Managing Director of PFC Austria, and I'm happy to introduce you today the new PFC Austria System 2024. First, a few words regarding PFC. PFC stands for Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification Schemes, and it is the leading global institution to promote and ensure sustainable forest management. on the three pillars of sustainability, the economical pillar, the ecological pillar, and the social pillar, and all three pillars are equivalent to each other. Our primary goal is to preserve the forests for the future generations with their important functions for humans, and this is implemented worldwide and adapted to the conditions of the respective country. First of all, a few facts regarding forest in Austria. 48% of the national territory is forest. These are about 4 million hectares. The timber stock in Austria is constantly increasing and currently amounts to 1.18 billion cubic meter, and only 89% of the timber stock increase is harvested. Regarding the owner structure, we have 81% private forest of the total area and 19% of the are public forests. In the private forest sector, we have round about 137,000 owners, which are farm and family forests mainly. They are divided into private forests beneath 200 hectares, which are about 49%, mainly small-scale forest owners, and private forests over 200 hectares with 22%, mainly large-scale forest owners. And also we have joint forests, about 10%, for example, agricultural communities. Regarding the 19% public forests, they are divided into the Austrian federal forests, which are about 15% of the total area. And the federal states have around about 1%, and municipalities have about 3%. Something about history of PFC Austria. PFC Austria was founded in June 1999. At the same time as PFC International was founded, we were one of the 12 founding members of PFC International, next to Norway, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Belgium, France, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, Switzerland, and Denmark. Our first system was endorsed in July 2000. We have a revised system endorsed in 2006, 2011, and the latest revised system was endorsed in March 2018. In the last 2 years, we had our fourth system revision, which took us from 1st June 2022 to 27th of May 2024. And our publication and the application for conformity assessment at PFC International happened at 28 May 2024. Some information about the members of PFC Austria. In the forestry sector, our members are the Austrian Forest Association, the Austrian Chamber of Agriculture, and the Association of the Austrian Land and Forest Owners. In the industry sector, our members are the Association of the Austrian Paper Industry and the Association of the Austrian Wood Industry. In the trading sector, we have on board the Federal Committee of the Building Material, Iron and Wood Trade. In the social sector, we have the Labor Union of the Production Sector and the Association of Women in Forestry as member. And in the NGO sector, we have Biosphere Austria and the Austrian Environmental Umbrella Organization as member, which is the umbrella for 35 NGOs in Austria and has over 1 million members. Something about our team. Next to me, we have in the office a marketing and communication manager, Thomas Gelmini. And we have 2 key account managers, Matthias Stelzer and Julia Rauter. They are responsible for business to business and business to customer management. And 2 technical officers, Mara Pump and David Platzkommer. They are responsible for forest owner database, COC database, projects, and office support. In Austria, we have 4 chairs, 1 chairman and 3 vice chairs. Our current chairman is Kurt Ramskogler. He is also a member of the board of directors of PFC International. Next to him, we have Christian Skielich. He is member of the managing board of Lansing, a big fiber producer. Valentina Kirnbauer is leading a timber industry company in Lower Austria, and Rudolf Rosenstatter is a forest owner and also chairman of the Forest Owner Association of the Austrian Forest Owner Association and our vice chair. What are our fields of activity? We have 2 fields of activity. The first field is the certification of sustainable forest management, where chain up to the finished product where our key standard is the PFC chain of custody standard. Some facts about statistics on national and international level. In Austria, we have over 97,000 forest owners which are participating in the PFC certification system. Worldwide, we have over 1 million. We have over 3.37 million of hectare forest which are managed according to the PFC standard in Austria. Worldwide, there are over 296 million hectares. And in the chain of custody sector, we have over 600 COC certified companies. Worldwide, there are over 28,000. Who are the PFC certified forest owners in Austria? In Austria, we have the Austrian Federal Forest as PFC certified forest owner, also big forests of former aristocrat families, church forests, but the backbone of the Austrian system are the thousands of peasant forest owners, which are also often organized in forest associations. These forest owners are participating in group forest management in Austria. You can see here a map of Austria with 8 PFC regions. These PFC regions are outlined according to our natural growth regions. We have in each PFC region a regional assistant. He is responsible for supporting the forest owners according to sustainable forest management and for the internal audit program. In the COC sector, we have big brands, big companies which are located with the central office in Austria, like Mondi, for example, in the paper and fiber sector, or Lenzing and Austrocell in the timber industry sector, Mayr-Melnhof or Binderholz. But also in the COC area, the backbone are again the hundreds of small and medium-sized companies. Who is certifying the sustainable forest management and the chain of custody in Austria? We are working together with 24 independent and state accredited certification bodies. In forest management, we are currently working with SGS, International Certification Services in Hamburg. In the COC sector, our Austrian certification bodies are, for example, Quality Austria, BVFS and Holzforschung Austria, but we also have far away from abroad certification bodies like SCS from California or Soil Association from UK. Now we will go into deep in our system revision process and all the informations regarding our process and the elements of our new standard. First of all, I want to explain the timeline of the system revision. As I already noticed, we started in June, on 1st of June 2022 with our system revision process, and it took us until May 2024 to finalize it. Before we started, we had a preparation phase. Our review date was the 29th of May 2022, and at the beginning of June we had our first GA. For this GA, we had already prepared the gap analysis, and the gap analysis said we have to do normal revision. We informed our National General Assembly about that, and they approved it in a resolution on a 2-year revision. We informed then in June PFC International that we start a normal revision. We made a standard proposal which was published on our website. And in July 2022, we started the stakeholder mapping. We mapped 238 stakeholders in Austria, and from this 238, we had 34 key stakeholders. The rest were affected stakeholders. We had no disadvantaged stakeholders. Then in August 2022, we started with the public announcement and stakeholder invitation. Then we started in September 2022 with establishing working groups. There were many stakeholders which applied for working in the working group. And in October 2022, we informed our General Assembly about the application of the stakeholders, and the final decision on the composition of the working group was done. From October 2022 to January 2023, we had to prepare our working groups. we had first meetings with the working group members. We prepared the agenda. We prepared the main topics which are relevant for the stakeholders, which they said to us, which are relevant. And then we started with our working groups in February 2023. We had 3 working groups and 4 sub-working groups. The sub-working groups mainly on special topics which were of special interest. For example, biodiversity was such a topic. And then at the beginning of May, or in May, we finished this first working group phase, and we started drafting the documents for the public consultation. In June 2023, we had a general assembly where we informed our GA members about the current status of the system revision process. And then in July until beginning of October 2023, we had our public consultation. And after that, we had the phase where we found the consensus on the final draft. We had a final working group meeting. We also had a GA in between where we again informed our members of the GA. And on 14th November, we had this final working group where we addressed all the comments of the public consultation. After that, we gave feedback regarding the public consultation to the stakeholders which gave input during the public consultation. We published also the feedback on our website. And from December 2023 until May 2024, we prepared the final documents in German and English language. We prepared for publication and for the application at PFC International. And on the 27th of May 2024, we had our General Assembly, and there the final system documents were approved by the GA. And on the 28th of May, we made the publication, and we also applied at PFC International for assessment, which was 1 day before our final application date, which was the 29th of May 2024. And now we are in the assessment process, and hopefully we'll get soon endorsed again. Something very important for us during our system revision process: who determines the criteria? Our stakeholder determining the criteria in a bottom-up process, not in a top-down process. This was very important, and this was also very fruitful. We had a lot of very experienced stakeholders in the working groups, which gave a lot of very constructive input. Here you can see a list of our working group. We had 24 working group members from different interest groups. Just naming a few examples, on the forest owner side, we had the Austrian Forest Association and the Austrian Federal Forest, for example, as well as the Austrian Chamber of Agriculture. In the business and industry sector, we had the Association of the Austrian Wood Industry and the Association of the Austrian Paper Industry. In the worker and trade union sector, we had the Federal Committee of the Building, Iron and Wood Trade. In the scientific sector, we had the University of Natural Resource and Life Science, for example, but also the Forestry Training Center in Traunkirchen, for example, or the Federal Timber Construction Guild. And in the NGO sector, we had the Austrian Environmental Umbrella Organization and Biosphere Austria in our working group, but also completely new NGOs which are very young in Austria. For example, the Association of Austria Fit for Grandchildren was an NGO which participated in our working group phase. On this slide, you can see our new system documents 2024 for sustainable forest management. We have a system description, then we have 4 standards, with the 1001, which is our PFC standard for sustainable forest management in Austria. The 1002 regulates the criteria and indicators for the determination of sustainable forestry in Austria. The 1004 is the group forest management certification standard. The 1004 regulates the requirements for the certification bodies in forest management certification. We also have guidelines. We have 4 guidelines. The 3001, which is the declaration of participation. The 3002, which is the confirmation of participation. Then the 3003, which is the checklist for the internal audits. And the 3004, which is the complaint procedure and rules for abbreviation for group organization. We also have system descriptions which regulate, for example, the standard setting requirements, the issuance of the trademarks, the notification of certification bodies, again, complaint procedures and rules for abbreviation, schedule of fees, and endorsement of control system for forest entrepreneurs, and also the transition to the revised new system is handled through a process description. In the chain of custody sector, we have adopted the standards and guideline from PFC International. So all 3 international standards, the 2001, the 2002, and the 2003 in the chain of custody sector, were approved by our Austrian National General Assembly. And the international guideline 2001 was also approved by our National General Assembly, and all the documents were translated into German language and are available for our Austrian COC companies. We had 4 revision categories in our system revision. First of all, the gap analysis, which was mainly a comparison to international benchmark standards. Then the stakeholder topics, predominantly adaptations in the 1001 standard, but this 1001 standard affected the other standards and the guidelines and the process descriptions, which also had to be adapted when we changed something in the 1001. Then the public consultation, where we had 22 comments, which were addressed, and also topics from PFC Austria stakeholders, including the panel of experts. Regarding the gap analysis was performed by Forest Consultancy Office. The consultant was Mr. Gleisner from Germany. He has an office in Bavaria. He is also CEO of the certification body HW Cert in Bavaria, and he has many decades of PFC experience in forest management, in sustainable forest management and COC sector. He made 220 notes to our old system documents, mainly regarding international contents, general requirements, processes and rules, and group management system, which we had to adapt during our system revision process. Also, the currency of the system documents was important in our analysis, also regarding EU legislation and also any time-critical adaptations. We had general changes in our system documents that were dates, official language, and gender. We had also changes regarding the wording, forest management certification instead of forest certification, then trademark or label instead of logo, fees instead of charges, and also the designation of norms. There were adjustments and corrections. Regarding our sustainable forest management standard, the 1001/2024, we had, first of all, we had general updates like definitions and technical terms, then designation of the legal basis, and also data sources and institutions were updated. It is now a requirement that there is a documentation of timber sales, and we have a new time limit for a participation, which is now 10 years. And after this 10 years, the forest owner has to sign a new declaration of participation or a data update. What is also new in our standard, we adapted the regulation regarding forest entrepreneurs. Now for forest entrepreneurs need a recognized document, which is recognized by PFC Austria. This is mandatory now. for example, forest entrepreneurs certification system or a certificate, when there is regional availability and when there are comparable costs and services. And from 2029 for fully and highly mechanized timber harvesting, it is in general mandatory. In our standards, always mandatory items are, there is the wording shall for it, and should is a guideline from the wording in our standard. There is an exception when there are capacity bottlenecks in the event of major calamities, then it is not necessary to have this certificate. When there is an audit and the forest entrepreneur has no certificate, it is a minor non-conformity, and the suitability of a forest entrepreneur can also be proven by documentation of the forest owner. But anyway, for the forest owner, it is more fruitful that he contracts forest entrepreneurs with a certification, which is approved by PFC Austria. Also an important topic during our system revision process was biodiversity. What is written down in our new standard regarding biodiversity, the forest owner has to use seeds and seedlings that are origin approved, and he has to maintain and support structural and horizontal and vertical diversity. Also an improvement of increasing resilience against climate change problems is important. Improving biodiversity has to be done by considerations and measures, and the spatial structure and diversity should go beyond the individual stand level and they should look on it more on a landscape level. For forest stand establishment and maintenance, we made reference to dynamic forest typing or similar. And for choosing tree species, the forest owner has to consider climate fitness and origin. When the forest owner wants to make admixture of non-native tree species in mixture with native tree species, when he wants to establish non-native tree species, he has to mixture it with native tree species. Exceptions in special justified cases are possible. He has also to preserve deadwood and habitat structure and support their development. And the protection and conservation of highly endangered habitat types and species in line with regional nature conservation guidelines is important. We outlined in our standard information on possible implementation measures as suggestions, and no additional risk to management has to be given, and the support with target measures. Regarding biodiversity, we support the EU protected area objectives at biogeographical levels. All these measures are voluntary, efficient, financial compensation is necessary, and the forest owner has also have to look at the EU bioeconomic strategy. For forest reproductive material, the forest owner has to use recognized reproductive material. And regarding natural rejuvenation, also the genetic source material is important to consider, and the origin recommendations. We also have carbon storage outlined in our standard. Regarding the wood stock level, it is a contribution to national carbon storage targets. And for the stock building, the forest owner has to consider it again climate change and silvicultural and economic risks, as well as forest effects and regeneration dynamics. Regarding plant protection, for the application of plant protection products, the preparation has to be done by a worker which has a certificate of competence, and the application can only be done by forest workers which are introduced to the application. We also concretized regarding creation of safe working conditions regarding our health and safety at work. There must be verifiable, comprehensible instructions to forest workers, and the employees must be suitable for carrying out hazardous work. Regarding the Renewable Energy Directive, we declared in our standard that red sustainability criteria are monitored and adhered to through compliance with national laws and the criteria of the PFC Austria standard. We also made an enumeration according to our National Sustainable Forest Biomass Regulation, paragraph 3, and references to specific content in the forest standard. Also new is dealing with legal offenses. There must be an information by the forest owner when he has an audit about administrative proceedings against him, and an exclusion for 24 months happens when there are offenses against paragraph 17, 17a, 62, 64, and 82 of our forest law. The paragraph 17 are mainly about clearings, 62 and 64 about forest road constructions, and 82 regarding large-scale clear cuttings. And also when there are serious labor law violations resulting in death, he has to be excluded for a minimum of 24 months. Exclusion for 12 months happens when there are final convictions or a breach of a deadline, and other violations, also violations which cannot be offset by measures. Regarding our criteria and indicators in the 1002 standard, and also our checklist for the internal audit in the guideline 3003, we made general updates and also adjustments according to the 1001 forest management standard. In the declaration and confirmation of participation, which is outlined in the guideline 3001 and 3002, we also had to adapt it. For example, in the declaration of participation, we have now written in there that the forest owner has to grant access for red inspections, also the designation of PFC certified wood only for Austrian wood from own forest areas, then the limitation of participation duration, and that the renewed participation after exclusion is only possible when the remedy of non-conformity happens and after 12 months at all earliest. And in the confirmation of participation, we adapted a supplement the date of birth to differentiate between forest owners which have the same first and last name. Then we also adapted our issuance of trademark usage license, which is the process description 4002. We made a renewal of the appendix and entered there the new license agreements, and according to user groups, these agreements were added. So thank you, and I'm open to questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gerhard. That was a very nice overview, a very detailed presentation. So thank you very much for that. I don't see any questions in the chat for now. So allow me to have a question from myself. I think the Austrian group setup is very exceptional in a way that it's really enabling, according to the categories you mentioned, the small owners, the bigger owners, everybody basically in this system. And I think it would be really beneficial if you would maybe highlight some of those elements which you think it's given the success of this group setup in Austria to allow the motivation of the smallholders to be part of this group.
Yes, I think in group forest management, it is easy for the forest owners to participate. For us, it is very important to roll out it on the whole area, and I think in another way of system, it wouldn't also be handleable. We have, as I already noticed, 96,000 forest owners in Austria, and doing, for example, a single certification with such a big amount wouldn't be possible. And from statistical viewpoint, with this 96,000 forest owners and our audit program, we can read from the reports if sustainable forest management works in Austria, and this is our most important goal from this point of view.
No, thank you very much. That makes it much more clear. And meanwhile, we received the questions about will the new standard be aligned to the EUDR requirements? I can take that. So it's a very relevant question because the EUDR deadline is coming very quickly. It's important to know that still as of today, the public consultation for the international modification proposals for the ST1003 is still on and still available, because it's important that this Austrian system, when it was developed at that time, there was no updated international benchmark standard which it can be related to when it comes to the EUDR. Now, the SFM working group at PEFC International and the related task forces were developed proposals on how this EUDR alignment can happen at an international level. And in the third quarter of this year, we will see of these modification proposals and potentially having these resulting in an updated international benchmark standard. And only when this happens, only after that time, we will be able to use the modalities and possibilities which are available in every member state of PEFC to roll out these modifications. But I don't know if Gerhard, you wanna add on that.
Yes, I would like to add on that. We are aware of all these adaptations. Some of our stakeholders worked also in these working groups, and we decided to use our new element in the new standard. We have now this time-critical revision in our new system, and after the forest, the new benchmark standard, the new forest management benchmark standard on international level is approved, we will adapt also our national system according to that. But therefore, we will have to wait for endorsement by PEFC International.
That's right, absolutely. And we are working to get this on track right now. And as part of this was this webinar. So thank you very much, everybody, for allocating time to listen to us today. And a particular big thank to Gerhard and his team to put this presentation together and share with us these very interesting specifications of the Austrian system. And here, before closure, I would just to remind everybody that if you are interested in the Austrian system more in details, that you can access the full system documentation on the pefc.org website, and the public consultation is open until 6th of September. And with this, I would like to again thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to welcome you on another PEFC public consultation webinar. All the best and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.